Go ahead.
As Tarek said, I'm quite seasonal. So I remember in the 80s the fifth generation computer system initiative of the Japanese government. And in some, at that time, there was the idea of the fifth generation computer system initiative was to launch a sort of massive computer for artificial intelligence. There was no AI at that time. So in some sense, this initiative, your initiative, which is very interesting, before starting my need to add something to I would like to say thank you for having presented this initiative at the BICA conference. However, I had some I had some questions in some sense to ask you. First of all, is the main motivation. So I would like to better understand which are the main motivation of this initiative, because I've seen two different motivations. One is more related with the AGI initiative or the BICA initiative. So to have computer, to more powerful computer, high level, human level artificial intelligence. And this is one motivation. The other motivation is more related with neuroscience, with clinical investigation or neurophysiological investigation, as in this last presentation. So it seems to me there are two different ways to see this initiative. For example, in Europe we have the Human Brain Project, which you obviously know, and the Human Brain Project is tightly focused on the clinical aspects and not on the AI aspects. They declare this as they say. So this is
our principal motivation is on the AGI side and not the clinical side, not the neuroscience side. So we don't, as Hiroshi mentioned, so we are not sticking to the deep biological plausibility. So we are looking at the entire brain architecture being useful for artificial intelligence research, because for AGI, the autonomy is one of the important aspects. And we think that the architecture of brain, there's the neocortex, the hippocampus, the amygdala, the value system, this is essential for AI autonomy. So that's why we are
okay. I understand. And coming back to the question of Tarek, you start at the bottom line. You start at neural net, let's say, anyway, you start at neural net level. However, in the BICA society community, as previously considered, there are different levels of representation, because there is this low level, there is the symbolic level, symbolic representation level. In some presentation, there has been the symbolic level representation. And for myself and for other people, including maybe Tarek, there are also some kind of intermediate representation, like geometrical representation, analogical representation, and so on and so forth. It seems to me, I would like to better understand in which way people working in geometric representation, in symbolic representation, could add their work into this system. Do you think it is feasible, it's possible, or it's tightly related with the neural network level?
So I'm not sure I'm answering your question directly, but the brain can be viewed as a network of networks. So the brain organs or areas, they themselves are networks. And there's a network of those organs and brain areas. And that's how we see the brain. And you're taking advantage of the higher level of the network. But we are kind of flexible in terms of modeling of the lower level of networks. Like, we we don't care if we use the deep learning Bayesian network or any other possible models to model the local network of the brain. And we have something to say about how we mix
representation.
Symbolic representations. How we
So this is my personal feeling. Okay. Well, intuitively we are thinking about symbolical. Yes, it's true. Language is a kind of symbol process, but still, when we see brain process, we cannot find any evidence that such kind of symbolic process is represented symbolically in brain. But so actually we find is just distribution of neural activities. So such human symbolic processing is a kind of simulated activity by distributed neural system. And this may be a foundation for the dual process theory, meaning the distributed system and symbolic processes collaborate. That is because symbolic process is simulated by distributed system. That is my personal feeling. And maybe that will be become a foundation of the new models. Yes. But of course, I don't reject the concept of using the symbol system. If we implement the symbol system, implement one function by symbolic system and embedded it in our architecture as one functional module, it's okay. But just by the constraint of a concept, interface between other modules should be distributed. That is our concept.
We were encouraged by the success of deep learning. Deep learning would be viewed as on the input layer, that's basically distributed representation of the pixels. And the middle, the higher layer, we see, for example, as in the Google's app, there's a cat neuron. So the cat neuron is responding most solely to some pictures of cats. So this could be viewed as somehow the symbol representation. Deep learning with some kind of converter to connect the distributed representations.
No, I understand that your architecture is tightly so the role of learning is strongly committed to learning, and this is an important point. And I would like to understand, but then we open the floor to other questions. I would like to understand whether, but it is more a question more on the philosophical side than to the engineering side. So I am an engineer, but anyway, this is my philosophical question. I would like to ask whether if the simulating the brain, simulating the structure of the brain is enough for building an human-level artificial intelligence. What I mean is that, let's say with a famous phrase like Woody Allen, we rely too much on the brain because the brain is the most overrated organ of the body. Maybe it's necessary not only to simulate the behavior of the brain, but also we need to simulate the behavior of the body and the behavior of the interaction between the body and the environment. So in this sense, I invite you to, I invite all the community of people interested in this interesting initiative to think about how to consider also the fact to add other models which are more related with the interaction between the brain and the external world. So this is at least my view, to consider the tight interaction between the brain and the external world.
We definitely need input from some other types of cognitive update, which is more tightly connected to cognitive science. Yeah, as you said, we kind of denied your notion that the WBA is more inclined to scientific details. But in one sense, that's true. So I think we are focusing on the entire architecture of brain, so that's basically neuroscience. And I kind of ignore to the higher level functions. So that's
usually interaction with the outer world or interaction with body is a very natural consequence of the application of, let's say, for studying the brain architecture, we need body.
Yeah.
It's of course true. And also we need environment. And of course we need experimental or behavioral fact to validate the effectiveness or the truth of the model. So in that sense, we need all level of environment and facts. Yes.
And another thing is to consider the interaction between the other people. For example, it would be interesting, I suggest you to try, for example, to have two simulated brain connected each other. So, I remember that some years ago at the Modern Tate Gallery in London, I see that beautiful painting in which there were two brains connected to each other. And it was not a case that this beautiful painting was named eroticism. It's two brains connected to each other.
But when we say simulated brain, we think a kind of abstraction. We don't think of the whole brain simulations. We just think modeling, abstracted models to compute. Yes, we sometimes say that the relation of bird and airplanes. So that's a result. The reason that the airplane fly is a result of abstraction of fluid dynamics. So such kind of abstraction is necessary to actually realize the maybe brain intelligence itself. So, but still we don't know what is such kind of theories. Then we need abstractions. And we think our whole initiative intended to run our model in the abstracted way. Yes.
Okay. Maybe open the floor to discussion.
We have a couple of minutes left, and I don't think anyone minds if we go 5 minutes overtime, as we will anyhow be able to make it to the vote easily. So, the floor is open for questions.
I have a question. If we want to participate, what are the opportunities? We are going to just be users of what you are developing, or you intending to have collaborators that want to collaborate with code or with testings or documentation and all the rest?
You're looking for all aspects of collaborators, but especially we are looking for some people who are interested in modeling specific parts of the brain. So we need some variety of the models to compare and combine and develop. And also the software, the code contribution system.
Yes, although I know that I am interpreting the thinking of many people, but do you have grants, for example, do we have grants? Do we have some
Plans?
Is there money?
money? Money for students who want to come in Japan and interact with you?
The current situation in Japan is kind of promising, especially this fiscal year, which starts in April, and the next fiscal year, some ministries, Ministry of Science, Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Communications, we are talking about establishing some big funding systems. So from this to next fiscal years, there is going to be lots of good opportunities to support people, support the students. Yeah, so
there are also many industries which are involved in these.
It's not like AI research in 10 years ago. 10 years ago it was winter, but now we're seeing the next spring. So. And I'm working for WBA. WBA is Natural Science Research Institute, and WBA is also starting some program for research in the area of artificial intelligence. And we talked to some directors of the institutes, and they were interested in this type of brain type of intelligence.
I would like to remind that there is a call which is open for the European Union for collaboration between Europe and Japan in the H2020 initiative.
The serious problem is something engineering purpose. For example, if we made a brain, what use?
Yeah.
Very easy to get a fund, especially in Japan.
Yeah. So maybe this could help young people to yes.
Further questions?
One question. Especially for the implementation for the source code. So is it well documented already? So can I put my hand or some missing part?
Currently, it's basically for the code is open, but basically for internal data. So we plan to make it publicly available, and we accept contributions from it from the public in a few months. When we get to the stage where the code is more stable and the design is more stable.
Yeah, so we have pretty initial code and the initial documentation for the code, but it's not really thorough yet, and it's not really stable. The API is not really stable. So yes, we did our best to get the best of what we could do now, but I don't think it's going to be the same in, I don't know, maybe half year's time. So it is open, it is accessible from GitHub, and the documentation is also available on GitHub.io. So you can check it out, but we can't really guarantee that it's going to stay stable for a while.
Maybe discussion forum. So let's say when we implement, we have questions and something.
Yeah, we could definitely make a forum for it. Yeah.
Another actually more content related question from me. What are your criteria of success? Like how do you know you succeeded, or how do you actually measure at least that you are progressing the right way? If you don't want to do brain simulation where you could say, okay, we have 20% of the connectome there, like what are you measuring your progress in?
Yeah, as I mentioned, our goal is to develop AGI.
Yeah.
But the serious problem is that there is no measurement of how general the AI agent is. So we have to develop some benchmark that is running on the goal research. But basically, it's a documentation.
Maybe something concrete application necessary.
Yeah, that's
so it's basically aiming for behavior that behaves like presumably us at some point.
Yeah, brain is just a guide. We stick to brain because that's the shortest path to reality.
Do you see your initiative as a competitor of, let's say, classical cognitive architectures, or are you thinking to integrate, your idea with existing, say, cognitive architecture? So, are you competing with them? Are you proposing an architecture that is, let's say, or are you thinking an integration?
Actually, we think don't think it is competitive. For example, we are now studying the LiDAR or microsite or architecture. And if it's something we feel good, we wish to include it, yes, of course. And if our idea is good, maybe you may introduce some part. Yes, so such kind of interaction is, of course, natural.
Yeah, but include is one thing and integrate is another thing. If you want to include everything in your architecture, so I see that there is something, I mean, on competition, yeah, behind this is
Of course, this is a kind of research, so but I don't think there is some reason to exclude others.
Further questions? If not, I'd say...
Let me say something.
Yes,
We
of course.
WBA, because I have a principal investigator position in BICA, so the professors, Hiroshi is the director of the AI research in the One World company. So still we established this NPO, the non-profit organization, because the grant programs, there's a big problem in getting the public funds. Grant programs for the duration of 3 to 5 years, mostly. We think that we at least need 15 years, probably more, 20 or 25 years to reach at our goal of development. So we have to have some continuity. So that's why we make the WBA as a forward place of discussion, place of keeping consistency.
Okay,
just
I see.
wanted to say.
I see, but one of the key of the success of this initiative is to spread this initiative outside Japan and all over the world, let's say.
That's
So-
why we're here. Fantastic place.
So this idea to students, to people, would help to spread this initiative.
Good, then there's 2 things left we need to do. First of all, I have to apologize to 2 of our 4 panelists because I introduced them by the wrong name. So I guess every one of us knows Antonio. I was right on Koichi Takahashi. I was wrong on Satoshi Kurihara. And I was wrong on Takashi Omori. My apologies, reading skills poor. And then, with this said, I hope we all meet again at 8 on a lovely boat somewhere, I guess, up that direction. And yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.